The groom laughed when she stepped off the train. A sharp bark that cut through the steam and coal smoke, and for a heartbeat the whole platform seemed to flinch with him. Men in dust-colored coats turned their heads. A dog stopped gnawing a bone. Even the bell above the station door went still as if embarrassed. She stood there with one small carpet bag and a bundle wrapped in oilcloth. Her shoes too thin for the season. Her eyes dark and steady as river stones. She did not bow. She did not smile. She looked straight ahead, as though the laughter were wind passing through a canyon. Cottonwood Station had been waiting for a bride it did not want. The notices had said she was coming from San Francisco, that she was Chinese, that she was clean and church quiet and unspoiled, that she would make a good wife for a man who needed one. They had not said her name. Names in Cottonwood were earned. The groom, Harlan Pike, a man who kept his hat on indoors, and his debts unpaid, had come to collect. A thing he believed he had purchased. When he saw her, he laughed because it was easier than admitting fear. She walked past him as though he were a post hammered into the dirt, and the laughter trailed off into something ugly and unfinished. A few men snorted. Someone muttered a joke about laundry and obedience. She climbed down from the platform with care, touching the iron rail once, then letting go. Her boots met the earth. Cottonwood inhaled. The sheriff was late as usual. The preacher was early as usual. The rancher was neither, because he did not come to town unless he had to. Lone Rancher, they called him, a name given by mouths that enjoyed being cruel to what they could not understand. He had land north of the river, land that drank blood and paid it back in beef and barley. He had a face worn by sun and a silence that felt deliberate. He was in town because of winter. Calf had gone lame and the farrier lived. Behind the saloon, he heard the laughter before he saw her. He felt the pause ripple outward like a stone dropped into water. When he turned, he saw the small woman with the dark eyes and the way she held herself, straight-backed and braced, as though she had learned early how to keep standing when the ground wanted you gone. Something in him tightened. A rope pulled too fast. Harlan Pike reached for her arm. "Well now," he said, the grin not reaching his eyes. "You made it." She did not recoil. She did not soften. She spoke, and her English was careful and clean, each word placed as though it mattered. "My name is Mei Lin." The sound of it fell wrong in Harlan's mouth. He snorted. "We'll see about that." The rancher stepped forward before he knew he was moving. He did not touch Harlan. He did not raise his voice. He stood where he could be seen. "She said her name," he said. "It's polite to hear it." Harlan's eyes flicked to him, measuring, calculating. "And who asked you, Cole?" The rancher's name was Cole Avery. He had been many things before he was that, but the past was a closed door he did not knock on. "No one," he said. "Still heard it." The moment passed like a held breath released. The preacher cleared his throat. The bell clanged as someone went in or out. Harlan laughed again, smaller this time, and turned back to Mei Lin. "Come on," he said. "We got business." She looked at Cole. It was not a plea. It was a recognition, like two people acknowledging the same horizon. Then she followed Harlan, and Cottonwood began to talk again, relieved. The wedding did not happen that day, or the next. Harlan put it off with a gambler's excuses, waiting for the right light, the right mood, the right leverage. He showed her a room behind the store, a cot and a wash basin, told her to stay put. He told the town she was stubborn. He told himself she would bend. She did not bend. She learned. She watched the way the town breathed, the way men circled and women counted, the way kindness and cruelty wore the same boots. She learned the river's moods. She learned which dogs bit and which only barked. She learned where to find work, and she took it. Laundry first, then mending, then cooking for men who ate as though starving were a competition. She saved coins in the hem of her dress. Cole saw her in pieces at first. A figure crossing the street with a basket, a shadow at a window, steam rising. Once, at dusk, she stood by the river and let the cold water run over her hands. Eyes closed, lips moving in a prayer he did not know. He told himself to mind his own. He had learned that lesson hard. The shock came on a night when the saloon spilled violence like cheap whiskey. Harlan had lost more than money and decided to collect it elsewhere. He found Mei Lin behind the store, carrying wood. His hand came out fast. Her cry was short, bitten off. Cole heard it from across the street. He did not remember crossing. He remembered Harlan's hand in the air, remembered stopping it. He remembered the sound a man makes when he realizes the ground has shifted. Harlan went down hard and stayed there, blinking. The sheriff arrived then, as if summoned by the scent of trouble. Words were said, threats. Cole stood between them and did not move. "She's mine," Harlan said, spitting blood. "She's not a thing," Cole said. The town leaned in. Maylin stood with her hands clenched, breath fast, eyes bright with a terrible calm. She spoke into the space like a blade slid home. "I do not belong to you." Harlan laughed, thin and dangerous. "We'll see." The sheriff did see later. When Harlan's debts came due in ways the law understood, papers were produced, names were signed. The groom found himself with less ground to stand on. Cottonwood pretended it had always been this way. Maylin left the room behind the store that night. She came to Cole's ranch with the clothes she wore and the coins she had sewn into her hem. He did not offer. She asked. He nodded. They set rules like fence posts, straight and necessary. Work for shelter. Quiet after dark. Respect both ways. Winter came early and hard. Snow pinned the land. Wolves tested the fences. Cole broke ice before dawn and came in with his hands numb. Maylin cooked without complaint, her food simple and filling. She learned the land. She learned the cattle. She learned Cole. The way his silence was not empty but careful, like a man handling glass. Shock wore different faces. Once, when a blizzard trapped them for 3 days, the roof groaned and the stove smoked and Cole's old wound opened and bled. Maylin did not panic. She cleaned and stitched with hands that did not shake. He watched her then, really watched, and something in him shifted, a door creaking open. He learned her story in pieces, never all at once. A father who had taught her characters by lamplight. A crossing that took more than it gave. A promise made by men who did not keep them. She did not speak of what she had been spared, only of what she had survived. Spring broke the snow and brought trouble with it. Harlan returned, thinner, sharper, with 2 men who smiled too easily. They came at dusk, dust on their coats, guns low and ready. Cottonwood held its breath again. Cole stood on his porch. Maylin stood beside him. The river ran high and loud, a witness. "You cost me," Harlan said. Cole did not answer. "She comes with me," Harlan said. "Or I take something else." Maylin stepped forward. Her voice did not waver. "You will leave." The men laughed. The sound was wrong here, did not fit the land. Cole moved then, fast and final. The world narrowed to action. Shots cracked. A man fell. Another ran. Harlan stumbled, disbelief wide in his eyes. And the river took him, swallowing his curses whole. After, there was blood on the dirt and the quiet that comes when a storm passes. The sheriff arrived too late to matter. Statements were made. Truth was bent just enough to stand. Shock lingered like smoke. Cottonwood changed its tune. Some said Cole was a hero. Some said he was a fool. Maylin did not listen. She walked the fence and set it right where it had broken. The love that grew between them did not announce itself. It arrived like weather, inevitable and earned. A hand offered and taken. A shared look across a field. Nights where words were not needed. They did not hurry. They did not hide. When the preacher came, it was not with papers or promises. It was with a nod and a smile that reached his eyes. When the bell rang, it rang because someone had pulled it, not because a town demanded it. Cole gave her his heart the way he did everything else, whole and without ornament. Maylin took it as she took the land with respect and fierce care. The ranch was no longer lonely. The name they gave it did not matter. What mattered was that when the train came through and the platform filled with steam, the laughter was gone, and in its place there was a quiet strong enough to hold.